Now for global business updates, Rotus Oddiri joins us. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Dr. Vati.
I have no statement from Grok.
Grok. Good morning, Grok says hi. Good morning, Rotus. Good morning, Adifemi. Good morning to all our viewers out there. We start off with what to watch this week. It's a week that's dominated by earnings. Palantir, which is a huge company, over $350 billion market cap. They do software security they have contracts with the U.S. government. Hims and Hers is a tech company that does telemedicine. So they basically help patients reach doctors far away and get prescriptions. You know, you need internet for that. Tuesday, really big, Advanced Micro Devices, AMD. They make chips that are in PCs, Sony PlayStations and Xboxes. They compete with the NVIDIAs of the world. Pfizer, everybody knows Pfizer in the pharmaceutical sector. Marriott Hotels. And then for our Gen Zs that like taking selfies, in the Florida Keys, Snapchat is going to be releasing its earnings on Tuesday as well. Wednesday, Uber, Walt Disney, and McDonald's. On Thursday, Eli Lilly's is $680 billion market cap. It's a massive company that does cancer research, pretty much a lot of pharmaceutical stuff. Warner Brothers will be releasing earnings on Thursday, and then we get the Bank of England decision. And then Friday, Canadian jobs, I think it was 83,000 in June that were added, 6.9% unemployment in Canada. We'll get to US jobs in a moment. OPEC Plus over the weekend, or rather oil prices were pretty volatile this morning. They were down, then they were up. Last I checked, it was 69.72 for Brent. Then West Texas, they actually flipped because they were down earlier and then they flipped at the last minute. Maybe they're down again. West Texas at 67, natural gas $3. Not 306, there's a decimal place, there's 3.06, so it'll be $3.06. OPEC added, they've now going to add another 547,000 barrels to September output. That's part of the reason why oil prices fell, because traders are now worried about a supply glut. You've seen increased production in Canada, we just mentioned, Guyana, the United States, Brazil, all these non-OPEC members flooding the market with oil. I think if you add everything up now, going back to April, I think they've probably wiped out the 2.2 million voluntary barrels that they wanted to remove from the market. So there's just a worry of a supply glut. However, you've got the geopolitical side where I think how many days now before Russia has to have that peace deal before Trump brings his hammer? I think it's like 5 days. Yeah, it gave 10 days last week. That should expire. He's also threatening India. Though the reports that Narendra Modi is being defiant about buying oil from Russia. How he plans to punish China and India on top of the tariffs that are already floating around, it remains to be seen. But that deadline ends this week. So those are the push-pull factors between fundamentals and geopolitical items that are hitting oil. All right, but the big news, of course, is Friday's job numbers. Karen McIntyre, that's the lady on the left, is the commissioner for the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And she lost her job for simply...
Calling her Karen. Erica.
Erica, excuse me. I feel like Erica
looks like
with
a Karen.
K. I thought Karen, just flip me over. Thank you, Vivian. So Erica lost her job on Friday because the job numbers that reported President Trump did not like. So it was a big surprise for a lot of folks. But then these surveys here in Nigeria, when the Bureau of Statistics is doing inflation and so on, I think they collect it up until the 15th of the month. So you still have data that's coming in for the rest of the month. But anyway, here it is. We're expecting 104,000 jobs. Only came in at 73,000 for payrolls. Pirate payrolls, you look at the comparison to June, it dropped. If you take a look at the biggest changes, the sectoral changes, healthcare has been driving job growth in the U.S. If you look at federal government jobs, think about DOGE and what they cut down, 14,000, manufacturing down, admin support down, restaurants down. If you now look at the revisions, we pulled up a chart that really shows the stark revisions, because there were also revisions in May and in June. So we've put the prior numbers and then the revisions. If you look at May prior, it was 144,000 jobs the BLS said was created. They now went back and revised it to 19,000. June, they said 147,000 was created. They revised it down to 14,000. And then July, 73. So if you take the net revision in jobs for the last 3 months, it comes out to about 258,000 jobs that were revised downwards. And so the average now between these last 3 months is now about 35,000. So it's basically back to a COVID period. So Trump saw it, he blew his top. But here's the thing. if the job numbers are fake, as he's saying that they are, and the labor market is strong, then why is he pressing for interest rates to be cut? Because Governor Waller, who is one of the two governors, along with Susan Bowman, that dissented against the Federal Reserve last week and wanted interest rates to be cut. This is what he said, and he said this before these labor numbers were released. He said, when labor markets turn, they often turn fast. If we find ourselves needing to support the economy, waiting may unduly delay moving towards appropriate policy. So he's been seeing these cracks. So Trump is saying he's trying to say two different things out of his mouth. One, he's supporting the dissent in the Fed, and now he's saying that the job numbers are fake. So he hasn't provided any evidence to suggest that what the BLS brought out was fake. So we'll have to see how things turn out. And he's going to mention, I think there's another Fed governor that resigned. He's going to add somebody to the Fed, and then you'll see how things work out. But now everybody wants to look at the next non-farm payrolls and start wondering if U.S. job data is going to be questionable. Round off with Nigeria. The NGX, as of August the 1st, is up 37.25% year to date. It's been on absolute on fire. The earnings numbers we've gotten from the companies have been pretty healthy, and also stable exchange rates and the likes. And then, since you all are talking about Kemi Badenoch, I have to shout out my reports that we put out on Friday. She went to Federal Government Girls College. They built a robot in 2023 called Shigi, and essentially we're making the case that the NEL fund should focus more on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, so that those girls can get a proper future as far as building robots, because that's where things are going.
Shout out to the ladies, the young, very, very clever girls at FTGC at Shagam in Ogun State. Clearly, a lot of good education happening there.
Indeed.
Well, I think we should put pressure on Kemi Badenoch, as I pointed out, that at 45, she's old enough to renounce her citizenship of Nigeria.
Yes.
And that is what will put an effective stop to this blackmail of Nigeria, this demarketing of Nigeria. And our family should be called out, the Adegoke family. They have given us a daughter who is describing the road to her father's house with the left hand. And I'm sure that the Adegoke people, being Yorubas, they understand the meaning of that statement. Singapore stock market is doing well.
Yep.
On tariffs, S&P 500 went down on Friday, significantly, by 1.6%.
Yep.
Berkshire Hathaway earnings went down by 0.4%, and they are blaming tariffs. And as for Trump sacking the head of the Bureau for Statistics, that's authoritarianism.
Indeed.
So is America still running a democracy or an authoritarian system? That is the question that Trump needs to ask. He's done it now with the Bureau for Statistics. He's going after the Federal Reserve, where one governor has already stepped down. So do we have a dictator in America? That's the question for Trump to address.
Indeed.
Because nobody will believe in data from America again.
Yeah, exactly.
It's about the integrity of data from the United States and an erosion of trust about whatever data comes from America. So from tariff to data abuse by Donald Trump.
Rotus Oddiri, thank you so much. I wish I had time to comment, but tomorrow is another day. We'll circle back.